Ruby's fingers traced the scars on Badger's neck while the shuttle climbed through Earth's atmosphere. The honey badger made a low chirping sound and pressed closer to her lap. Outside the viewport, blue sky faded into the black canvas of space. Director Williams sat across from them, reviewing diplomatic files on his datapad. "You don't have to come with us," Williams said softly. "The medical team said you could stay at the facility for another month." Ruby didn't respond. She hadn't spoken since the Ravager attack destroyed her colony 6 months ago. Badger was the only reason she survived those 3 days buried in the rubble. While rescue teams searched through the debris, this small creature had kept her warm and brought her scraps of food. The bond between them was unbreakable. The shuttle docked with the Sovereign Dawn, a massive flagship belonging to the Galactic Coalition. Ruby felt the artificial gravity engage as the airlock cycled. Williams stood and adjusted his formal jacket. 3 other human diplomats gathered their materials. Everyone looked nervous. "Remember, stay close and let me do the talking," Williams instructed. "The Vorians value strength above everything else. They're testing us." The airlock opened. Ruby stepped into a corridor that stretched impossibly far in both directions. Alien crew members stopped to stare at the human delegation. Most had never seen Earth species before. Their expressions ranged from curiosity to barely hidden contempt. A tall figure approached, his scaled skin reflecting the corridor lights in shades of deep purple. Commander Thalrek of the Vorian Empire stood over 7 feet tall, his muscular frame covered in ceremonial armor. 4 junior officers flanked him, each equally imposing. Director Williams. Thalrek's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Earth sends its representatives at last. We wondered if your species possessed the courage to meet us face to face." Williams extended his hand. "Commander, thank you for receiving us." Thalrek ignored the gesture. His eyes swept over the human group and stopped on Ruby. "You bring children to diplomatic functions? And what is that creature?" Badger sat at Ruby's feet, watching the aliens with dark, intelligent eyes. His stocky body and short legs made him look almost comical next to the towering Vorians. "This is Ruby Chun and her companion, Badger," Williams explained. "The girl has special circumstances. The animal provides emotional support after traumatic events." Thalrek threw his head back and laughed. The sound echoed through the corridor, causing other aliens to pause and look. His officers joined in, their collective amusement drawing more spectators. Emotional support. Thalrek bent down to examine Badger more closely. "Look at this thing. Those tiny legs can barely hold up its body. What purpose does such a useless creature serve? We Vorians abandoned keeping pets 10,000 years ago. They weakened us, made us soft." Badger's eyes never left the commander's face. The honey badger showed no fear, despite being surrounded by creatures that could crush him without effort. "I would not underestimate Earth creatures, Commander," Williams said carefully. "Appearances can be deceiving, can they?" Thalrek straightened to his full height. "Your planet sends weaklings and children while the Ravager swarms consume world after world. The Coalition needs warriors, not sentiment and softness." One of the Vorian officers stepped forward. "Commander, perhaps we should proceed to the conference chamber." "No." Thalrek's eyes gleamed with challenge. "I think Earth needs to prove itself first. We have tests for species seeking Coalition membership. Tests that separate the worthy from the weak." Williams tensed. "What kind of tests?" "Combat-triade. Strategy assessments. Survival scenarios." Thalrek gestured toward Badger. "But perhaps we start with something simpler. Let us see what your emotional support animal can do against a real predator." "Absolutely not," Williams said firmly. "That wasn't part of the agreement." "Then Earth fails the first test by refusing." Thalrek crossed his arms. "Return to your planet and tell them the Coalition has no room for cowards who hide behind pets and children." Ruby felt something shift inside her chest. She looked down at Badger, remembering how he fought off the scavenger drones in the colony ruins. How he stood between her and danger without hesitation. How his fearlessness kept her alive when everything else fell apart. She stepped forward and placed her hand on Williams's arm. The director looked at her in surprise. Ruby met his eyes and nodded once, then pointed at Badger. "Ruby, no," Williams whispered. "We can find another way." But Ruby had already made her decision. She knelt beside Badger and stroked his coarse fur. The honey badger chirped softly and licked her hand. Then he waddled toward Thalrek, stopping a few feet away. The commander smiled with predatory satisfaction. "The child has more spine than I expected." "Very well. We will arrange a demonstration in the training arena. Your creature against one of our warhounds. A simple test of natural ability." "This is wrong," Williams protested. "The animal could be killed. Then Earth learns a valuable lesson about its place in the galaxy." Thalrek turned and walked away, his officers following. 1 hour. Do not be late. The corridor emptied as aliens hurried to spread news of the upcoming spectacle. Williams ran his hand through his hair, stress evident on his face. The other diplomats gathered around Ruby, speaking in worried tones. Ruby ignored them all. She picked up Badger and held him close, feeling his steady heartbeat against her chest. The honey badger had saved her life once. Now everyone would see what she already knew. Size and appearance meant nothing. Heart and courage were everything. She just wished she could tell them that with words instead of silence. The training arena occupied an entire deck of the Sovereign Dawn. Ruby pressed her face against the observation window, watching technicians activate the environmental systems below. Holographic landscapes flickered into existence, creating rocky terrain, shallow pools, and dense vegetation patches. The arena could simulate any planetary environment in a known galaxy. Hundreds of aliens filled the observation decks. Word had spread quickly through the ship. Ruby heard their conversations through the translation devices Williams had given the human delegation. Most spoke about the upcoming match with amusement. Some placed bets on how quickly the honey badger would flee. Others wondered if Earth creatures could even feel fear properly. "This is madness," Williams muttered beside her. He had spent the last hour trying to contact Earth Command for guidance, but the communication delay made real-time decisions impossible. "We should withdraw from the trials entirely." Ruby shook her head. She held Badger in her arms, feeling his muscles shift beneath his fur. The honey badger seemed calm, almost relaxed. He had been in worse situations before Thalrek entered the observation deck, surrounded by his officers. The crowd parted for him automatically, showing the respect his rank commanded. He approached the humans with a satisfied expression. "Your creature is prepared?" he asked. "This proves nothing about humanity," Williams said. "An animal's behavior doesn't represent our species. On the contrary, Director, your species chooses to bond with creatures like this. You bring them to important diplomatic meetings. You claim they provide value." Thalrek gestured toward the arena. "We simply wish to see what that value is." A door opened at the far end of the arena floor. Ruby's breath caught as the Vorian warhound emerged. The creature stood nearly 6 feet tall at the shoulder, its body covered in thick armored plates that had been bred into its genetics over countless generations. Curved claws scraped against the arena floor. Its eyes glowed with predatory intelligence. The crowd murmured with approval. Several aliens shouted encouragement in their native languages. The warhound had never lost a match against creatures twice its size. "Beautiful, is it not?" Thalrek said proudly. "We spent millennia perfecting the warhound breed. Strength, speed, killing instinct, all maximized through careful selection. That is how superior species approach animal relationships. We create tools, not companions." Ruby felt Badger tense in her arms. The honey badger's eyes locked onto the warhound below. She carried him to the transport tube that would take them to the arena floor. Williams grabbed her shoulder. "Ruby, please, let me stop this." She looked at him with steady eyes and shook her head. Then she stepped into the tube before he could protest further. The descent took only seconds. Ruby emerged onto the arena floor, feeling the artificial sun warm her skin. The holographic environment smelled like real earth and vegetation. Badger squirmed in her arms, eager to be released. She set him down carefully. The honey badger immediately began sniffing the ground, analyzing his surroundings with methodical precision. He showed no reaction to the warhound watching from across the arena. Ruby walked back to the exit point. A force field activated, separating her from the combat zone. Through the transparent barrier, she could see Williams and the other humans pressed against the observation window high above. Their faces showed obvious fear. The warhound paced along the far side of the arena, awaiting its handler's command. Muscles rippled beneath its armored hide. Saliva dripped from its jaws. Thalrek's voice boomed through the arena speakers. Let the demonstration begin. The warhound charged immediately. Its powerful legs covered the distance in seconds, claws tearing up the simulated ground. The crowd roared with excitement. Ruby's hands pressed against the force field. Badger didn't run. He didn't even flinch. Instead, he dropped into a low stance and watched the approaching predator with calculating eyes. At the last possible moment, he darted sideways with surprising speed. The warhound's claws whistled through empty air where Badger had been standing. The crowd's roar faltered into confused murmurs. The warhound spun around, snarling with frustration. It lunged again, jaws wide enough to swallow the honey badger whole. Badger rolled beneath the attack and twisted his body upward. His claws found the soft tissue around the warhound's eyes. The larger creature howled and jerked backward. Ruby felt her heart pounding. She had seen Badger fight before, during the colony attack. She knew what he was capable of. But watching him face something so much larger still made her chest tight with worry. The warhound became more cautious, circling its opponent with renewed respect. Blood dripped from shallow cuts near its eyes. It had never encountered prey that fought back so effectively. Badger advanced. His short legs moved with purpose, closing the distance despite the warhound's attempts to maintain space. When the larger creature snapped at him, Badger went for its throat. His teeth sank into the unarmored area beneath the warhound's jaw. The warhound shrieked and tried to shake Badger loose, but the honey badger held on with incredible grip strength. His body swung wildly as the warhound thrashed, but he didn't let go. Seconds stretched into what felt like minutes. Finally, the warhound dropped to the ground and rolled, trying to crush Badger beneath its weight. The honey badger released his grip and scrambled clear. Both animals separated, breathing hard. The arena had gone completely silent. Thalrek stood at the observation window, his expression frozen in disbelief. Around him, aliens stared at the scene below, without making sound. The warhound, pride of Vorian breeding programs, backed away from a creature 1/10 its size. Badger advanced again, showing no signs of fatigue or fear. The warhound retreated further, whimpering. Ruby smiled for the first time in 6 months. Thalrek slammed his fist against the control panel, stopping the match. The force field around the warhound activated, separating it from Badger. Medical teams rushed onto the arena floor to examine the injured animal. The creature lay on its side, breathing rapidly, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Ruby stepped through her force field the moment it deactivated. Badger trotted over to her, his gait slightly uneven, but his head held high. She scooped him up and checked him for injuries. A few scratches marked his thick hide, but nothing serious. The honey badger licked her face and made a satisfied, chirping sound. The observation decks erupted into chaos. Aliens argued in dozens of languages, their translation devices creating a cacophony of overlapping voices. Some demanded replays of the match. Others insisted it had been rigged somehow. A few spoke in hushed, respectful tones about what they had witnessed. Williams appeared through the transport tube, running to Ruby's side. "Are you both all right?" Ruby nodded. She buried her face in Badger's fur, feeling the adrenaline slowly drain from her system. The honey badger's heartbeat had already returned to normal, as if fighting creatures many times his size was just another routine activity. Impossible. Thalrek's voice cut through the arena speakers. He had descended to the floor level, his purple scales darker with agitation. That creature should have fled. Every instinct should have told it to run from a superior predator. Honey badgers don't have that instinct, Williams said quietly. On Earth, they're known for fighting animals 50 times their size. Lions, hyenas, Cape buffalo. They don't know how to quit. Then they are defective, Thalrek snapped. Evolution should have eliminated such foolish behavior. And yet they survive. Williams gestured to Badger, who sat calmly in Ruby's arms. They thrive in environments that would kill most species. Their fearlessness isn't stupidity, Commander. It's strategy. Thalrek approached Ruby slowly. The girl met his eyes without flinching. Badger watched the commander with the same calculating gaze he had used against the warhound. This proves nothing about humans themselves, Thalrek said, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. The animal fought well. I acknowledge that. But Earth seeks membership in the coalition. We need to know if your species can contribute to our defense. What more do you want from us? Williams asked. Real warriors, real weapons, real strategy. Thalrek turned to face the observation decks where his officers waited. The Ravager swarms destroy everything they touch. They have consumed 17 worlds in the past year alone. We need species that can fight, not species that bond with small creatures and hope for the best. Before Williams could respond, alarms shrieked throughout the ship. Red emergency lights bathed the arena in crimson glow. The calm artificial environment flickered and vanished, replaced by bare metal walls and floor. Thalrek's communication device crackled. Commander, we have a situation. Sensors detected a Ravager scout ship at the system's edge. It's heading toward us. The color drained from several aliens' faces in the observation decks. Ruby felt Williams's hand on her shoulder, protective and tense. She had seen Ravagers before during the colony attack. The memory made her grip Badger tighter. Battle stations, Thalrek ordered. All combat personnel to their positions. Diplomatic guests will be escorted to secure quarters immediately. Let us help, Williams said. Earth has experience fighting Ravagers. You, Thalrek laughed, but it sounded forced. What could humans possibly offer? Your planet hasn't even developed proper deflector shield technology. Return to your quarters and let real warriors handle this threat. Two Vorian guards approached the human delegation. Williams started to argue, but more alarms cut him off. The ship's artificial gravity fluctuated slightly as power redirected to defensive systems. Ruby refused to move when the guards reached for her. She stood her ground, holding Badger close. The honey badger's eyes remained fixed on Thalrek, unafraid and unwavering. The child needs to come with us, one guard said in surprisingly gentle tones. This area is not safe. Williams tried to take Ruby's hand, but she pulled away. She wanted to stay. She wanted to see what would happen. The Ravagers had taken everything from her once before. She wasn't going to hide again. Ruby, please, Williams pleaded. We have to go. The ship shuddered. Something had struck the outer hull. More alarms joined the first, creating a symphony of warnings. Aliens ran through the corridors visible beyond the arena entrance, rushing to combat stations or emergency shelters. Thalrek watched the chaos with a grim expression. His confidence from earlier had vanished, replaced by the hard reality of facing an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. He looked at Ruby and Badger one more time. Get them to safety, he told his guards. If the Ravagers breach the hull, sealed quarters will buy them a few extra minutes. Just a few minutes? Williams asked. The Ravagers adapt quickly. They learn our weapon patterns, our defense strategies. Each encounter teaches them how to defeat us more efficiently. Thalrek's hands clenched into fists. We lose more ships every month. More colonies. More worlds. The coalition is running out of options. Ruby felt something stir in her chest. The same feeling she had when Badger stood between her and danger in the colony ruins. The same feeling she had when she decided to let him fight the warhound. It was the feeling of knowing something important, something the adults around her couldn't see. She opened her mouth. No sound came out first. The selective mutism that had held her silent for 6 months felt like a physical barrier in her throat. But she pushed against it, driven by desperate need to share what she understood. The guards reached for her arms. Williams moved to pick her up. Thalrek turned to leave the arena. Ruby forced the words out, quiet but clear in the chaos. Badger protects me. Everyone stopped moving. Williams stared at Ruby with wide eyes. The guards froze mid-reach. Even Thalrek turned back, his expression shifting from surprise to something more complex. "Ruby," Williams whispered. "You spoke." Ruby nodded, her voice growing steadier. "Badger protects me. He always has." The words felt strange in her mouth after so many months of silence. But they also felt right, like something that needed to be said at this exact moment. She hugged the honey badger closer, drawing strength from his solid presence. Thalrek approached slowly. The child hasn't spoken before, not since the Ravager attack on her colony. Williams knelt beside Ruby, his eyes glistening. "We thought it might take years of therapy." "Ruby, what made you? He protects me," Ruby repeated, looking down at Badger. "When the buildings fell, when the fires came, when those machines killed everyone. He stayed with me. He brought me food. He kept me warm. He fought the scavenger drones that tried to hurt me." The ship shuddered again, harder this time. Distant explosions echoed through the metal corridors. But nobody in the arena moved. Ruby's words had created a pocket of stillness in the chaos. "For 3 days," Ruby continued, her voice soft but unwavering. "I was buried under rocks and metal. I couldn't move my legs. I thought I would die there. But Badger dug through the rubble. He found gaps I couldn't see. He led the rescue team to me." Thalrek's face went very still. "The rescue team. They followed his sounds," Williams explained quietly. "The honey badger kept making noise, leading them through the collapsed structures. Without him, they never would have found Ruby in time. We thought it was luck, but it wasn't luck." Ruby stroked Badger's head. "He knew what he was doing. He's small, but he's smart. And he never gives up." A massive impact shook the entire ship. The lights flickered. Emergency power engaged, bathing everything in harsh white illumination. Thalrek's communication device erupted with urgent messages. "Commander, the Ravager ship is launching attack drones. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They're swarming our defensive perimeter. Deploy all fighters," Thalrek ordered. "Activate point defense systems. Target the largest clusters first." "Sir, the drones are adapting to our weapons. They're learning our firing patterns and adjusting their approach vectors. Estimated time until hull breach is 12 minutes. Thalrek's jaw tightened. He looked at Ruby and Badger, then at Williams. "Your species faced these machines? 6 colonies destroyed before we learned how to fight them," Williams said. "Thousands dead. Ruby was one of the lucky ones. How did you fight them? What weapons worked?" "Not weapons, Commander. Tactics." Williams pulled out his data pad, despite the shaking ship. "Earth doesn't have your shield technology or your energy weapons. We had to think differently." The ship's main view screen activated on the arena wall, showing the battle outside. Ravager drones swarmed like metallic insects, each one the size of a small vehicle. They moved in coordinated patterns, flowing around the Sovereign Dawn's defensive fire. Vorian fighters engaged them, but struggled to land effective hits. "They're too fast," Thalrek muttered. "Our weapons are designed for ship-to-ship combat, not these small targets." "That's because you're thinking like predators," Williams said, tapping his data pad rapidly. "You want to overpower them with superior force. But sometimes the best defense is not about being stronger." "Then what is it about?" Ruby spoke again, surprising herself. "Being harder to kill." Everyone looked at her. She pointed at Badger. "He doesn't win fights by being big or strong. He wins because he won't stop, because he goes for weak spots, because he's too tough to hurt easily." Williams nodded, understanding dawning on his face. "Ruby's right. Commander, I need to contact Earth immediately. We have defensive technology that might help. Your planet is light hours away. There's no time. Not Earth itself. The human research station on Titan. They've been working on autonomous defense systems specifically designed to counter Ravager tactics." Williams was already sending the message. "Give them access to your communication array and weapons control." "You want me to give humans control of Vorian weapons?" Thalrek looked incredulous. Another explosion rocked the ship. The view screen showed 3 Ravager drones breaking through the defensive perimeter, heading straight for the hull. 7 minutes until breach, A voice reported over communications that Thalrek made a decision. Do it. Give him access. Williams worked frantically on his datapad. Ruby watched the view screen, still holding Badger. The honey badger remained calm despite the chaos, his eyes tracking the Ravager movements with interest. Connection established, Williams announced. Titan Station is uploading their defense protocols now. What exactly are these protocols? Thalrek demanded. Drone swarms, but not like yours. Williams pulled up a schematic on his pad. We studied Earth animals and adapted their survival behaviors into artificial intelligence patterns. Each drone type mimics a different species. The view screen changed. New signatures appeared around the Sovereign Dawn, small craft launching from hidden bays. They moved in patterns unlike anything the Vorians used, coordinated but fluid, aggressive but intelligent. Those drones, Ruby said, pointing. They move like Badger. William smiled. Some of them do. We call that pattern Honey Badger Protocol. Relentless, fearless, targeting weak points with precision. But we have others too. Wolf Pack Protocol for coordinated strikes. Eagle Protocol for diving attacks. Mongoose Protocol for evasion and counterstrikes. Thalrek watched the screen with growing amazement. The human drones engaged the Ravager swarm, and the battle immediately shifted. Where Vorian fighters had struggled, these smaller craft adapted and overwhelmed. They didn't try to match the Ravager's strength. They used speed, cunning, and coordination. It's working, someone breathed over the communications. Ruby squeezed Badger gently. She finally understood what the adults had missed. Strength wasn't about size or power. It was about refusing to give up, no matter how big the enemy looked. The arena view screen split into multiple feeds, showing the battle from different angles. Ruby watched with fascination as human drones swarmed the Ravager machines. They moved nothing like the rigid formations she had seen Vorian fighters use. These craft darted and weaved, never staying in one place. Never presenting an easy target, a cluster of Ravager drones tried to overwhelm a section of the hull. Before they could attach their cutting tools, human drones using the Honey Badger Protocol dove straight at them. The impact scattered the Ravagers, breaking their coordination. Then the human craft targeted the joints and sensor clusters on each machine, disabling them with precise strikes. They're not trying to destroy the Ravagers outright, Thalrek observed. They're crippling them. Exactly, Williams said. We learned that from honey badgers. They don't waste energy killing prey. They immobilize it by targeting vulnerable areas. Efficient and effective. More Ravager drones attempted a coordinated assault from multiple vectors. This time, human drones running Wolf Pack Protocol responded. They split into groups of 5, each pack working in perfect synchronization. One group herded Ravagers toward another group's ambush position. When the enemy machines tried to scatter, a third pack cut off their escape routes. Incredible, one of Thalrek's officers whispered. The coordination is flawless. Wolves hunt as a family unit, Ruby said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She felt shy with all the attention, but continued. I saw a documentary once. They don't just chase prey. They communicate, plan, work together. Each wolf has a role. The girl is correct, Williams confirmed. We programmed pack hierarchy into the AI. Each group has an alpha drone making tactical decisions, but all members contribute. It's not one intelligence controlling everything. It's many intelligences cooperating. The Ravager scout ship changed tactics. It launched a new wave of drones, these ones larger and more heavily armored. They pushed through the human defenses with brutal momentum, destroying several drones in the process that Ruby's breath caught. For a moment, she thought the Ravagers would break through. But then new human signatures appeared on the screen, moving incredibly fast. Eagle Protocol engaging, Williams announced. The new drones approached from above the battle plane, building tremendous velocity before diving at the armored Ravagers. They struck like thunderbolts, hitting with enough force to crack the heavy plating. Then they pulled up and circled around for another pass. They're using gravity and speed instead of raw firepower, Thalrek said with dawning respect, converting momentum into weapon force. Eagles are one of Earth's most effective predators, Williams explained. They don't fight their prey on equal terms. They use altitude advantage and physics to multiply their striking power. Badger chirped in Ruby's arms. She looked down at him and smiled. The honey badger seemed proud, as if he understood that his species had inspired part of Earth's defense strategy. The Ravager scout ship made a desperate move. It launched every remaining drone at once, creating a massive swarm that darkened space around the Sovereign Dawn. Hundreds of machines rushed toward the flagship from all directions. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Vorian crew members braced for impact. Thalrek's expression hardened, preparing for the worst. Mongoose protocol now, Williams said calmly into his communicator. The human drones scattered, moving in seemingly random patterns. The Ravager swarm tried to follow, but couldn't lock onto any single target. Each time the enemy machines committed to pursuing one drone, it would jinx sideways at the last possible second, causing Ravagers to collide with each other. "What are they doing?" Thalrek demanded. "Mongooses are immune to many snake venoms," Ruby said, surprising herself with her knowledge. "But they don't just resist poison. They're also really good at dodging. They make snakes miss on purpose, tire them out, then attack when the snake is exhausted." The human drones continued their evasive dance, leading Ravager machines into each other, causing them to waste energy on failed attacks. The enemy swarm's coordination broke down as individual machines became confused and damaged from friendly collisions. Then the human drones stopped running. They turned as one and counterattacked, hitting the disorganized Ravagers from every angle simultaneously. The battle became a massacre, with crippled enemy machines drifting helplessly through space. The Ravager scout ship tried to retreat, but Vorian fighters had regrouped. They pursued the fleeing vessel with renewed confidence, their weapons finally finding easy targets now that the drone screen had collapsed. "Direct hit on the scout ship's engine core," someone reported. "It's disabled." The arena erupted in cheers. Aliens who had been preparing for death moments ago now celebrated survival. Vorian officers embraced each other. Even the normally stoic guards at the arena entrance smiled with relief. Thalrek stood motionless, staring at the view screen. The human drones maintained formation around the Sovereign Dawn, ready for any additional threats. But the battle was over. A Ravager attack had been repelled with minimal casualties. "How many ships did you lose?" he asked Williams quietly. 14 drones damaged, 6 destroyed, all unmanned. Williams put away his datapad. "We designed them to be expendable. Better to lose machines than lives. We lost 3 fighters and their pilots." Thalrek's voice was heavy. "Brave warriors who died following tactics that no longer work against this enemy." Ruby walked over to the commander, still carrying Badger. The honey badger watched Thalrek with curious eyes. The massive alien warrior looked down at the small girl and her even smaller companion. "I mocked you," Thalrek said. "I called your bond with this creature weakness. I was wrong." "It's okay," Ruby said softly. "A lot of people think Badger is useless because he's small. They don't understand that size doesn't matter. What matters is never giving up." Thalrek knelt down to Ruby's level. For the first time since the humans had arrived, he looked at them with something other than contempt or challenge. He looked at them with respect. "Will you teach us?" he asked. "Will Earth show the Coalition how to fight like you do?" 3 weeks passed before Ruby stood in the arena again. This time, she wasn't alone. Dozens of alien cadets filled the training space, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes across the floor. Badger sat at her feet, watching the proceedings with patient interest. Thalrek addressed the gathered crowd. "Today begins a new phase of Coalition defense training. We are privileged to have Director Williams and his team here to share Earth's tactical innovations." The commander's tone had changed completely. Gone was the mockery and superiority. He spoke about humans with the same respect he showed his own warriors. The shift affected everyone on the Sovereign Dawn. Where aliens once dismissed the human delegation, they now sought their advice. William stood beside a holographic display. "We're not here to replace your existing strategies. We're here to add new tools to your arsenal. Tools inspired by Earth's most successful survivors. The display showed various Earth animals in their natural habitats. Lions hunting in coordinated prides. Dolphins using bubble nets to trap fish. Ants building living bridges with their own bodies. Each creature demonstrated a different approach to challenges. Every species on Earth learned to survive through adaptation, Williams continued. Not through being the strongest or largest, but through finding strategies that worked for their specific circumstances. That's what we want to teach you. A Kelrathi officer raised a tentacled appendage. How do we know these animal behaviors will work against ravagers? They're machines, not living prey. Ruby spoke up before Williams could answer. Machines follow patterns. Animals do too, but they also know when to break patterns. That's what makes them hard to predict. The officers looked at her with interest. Over the past weeks, Ruby had become something of a minor celebrity on the ship. The silent child who found her voice during a Ravager attack. The girl whose bond with a small Earth creature had changed how aliens viewed humanity. Ruby is right, Williams said. Ravagers adapt by learning patterns. Our defense systems don't rely on fixed responses. They use multiple strategies and switch between them unpredictably. Watch. The holographic display showed a simulation. Ravager drones attacked a defended position. Human drones responded with Honey Badger protocol, engaging aggressively. The Ravagers began to adapt, predicting the attack patterns. Then the human drones suddenly switched to Mongoose protocol, becoming evasive. The Ravagers couldn't adjust fast enough, having committed to countering the aggressive approach. The key is flexibility, Williams explained. Don't be predictable. Use every tool available. Think like survivors, not conquerors. Thalrek stepped forward. Earth's approach requires us to change how we view strength. We Vorians prided ourselves on pure combat power. We bred warhounds to be the perfect weapons. But we forgot that perfect weapons become rigid tools. He gestured toward Badger. This creature weighs perhaps 15 pounds. My warhound weighs 300. Yet the Honey Badger won their encounter because it didn't fight the way the warhound expected. It refused to follow the rules of engagement. Badger chirped, as if acknowledging the compliment. Several aliens made amused sounds. The Honey Badger had become popular on the ship. Crew members brought him treats. Children asked Ruby to tell stories about his adventures. Even the Vorian warhound, now recovered from its injuries, had developed a cautious respect for the small creature. Over the next month, we will integrate Earth's defensive protocols into all coalition fleets, Thalrek announced. Every species will contribute its own innovations. We're stronger together than separately. The training session lasted several hours. Williams and his team taught alien cadets how to think like pack hunters, how to use environmental advantages, how to identify weak points in enemy formations. Ruby helped by sharing stories about different Earth animals, making the lessons memorable. When the session ended, Thalrek approached Ruby privately. I wanted to apologize again. When you first arrived, I saw only weakness. I didn't understand what strength truly means. You were trying to protect everyone, Ruby said. You thought being tough meant not caring about small things. But Badger taught me that tough and caring can be the same thing. How so? Ruby scratched behind Badger's ears. He's the toughest animal I know. He fights lions and doesn't care about getting hurt. But he also stayed with me when I was scared. He brought me food when I was hungry. He kept me warm when I was cold. Being tough means you can help people when they need it most. Thalrek was quiet for a moment. You're very wise for someone so young. I had a good teacher. Ruby smiled down at Badger. The Honey Badger looked up at her and made his chirping sound. Ruby could swear he was smiling too, though Honey Badgers didn't really smile in ways humans could recognize. Williams joined them, carrying a data pad. I just received confirmation from Earth Command. They've approved full coalition membership. They're sending technical teams to help implement the defense protocols across all fleet groups. This is excellent news, Thalrek said. He extended his hand to Williams. This time, the director shook it firmly. Earth has earned its place among us. Not through weapons or technology alone, but through wisdom. Ruby watched the two leaders, feeling pride swell in her chest. 6 months ago, she had lost everything. Her family, her home, her voice. The Ravagers had taken it all. But somehow, through the darkness, she had found something new. Purpose, strength, hope. Badger had saved her life in the colony ruins. Now, in a strange way, he had helped save the galaxy. Not by being big or powerful, but by being exactly what he was. Fearless, determined, and loyal. That night, Ruby stood at the observation window in her quarters, looking at the stars. Earth hung in the distance, a blue marble in the void. Somewhere down there, people were going about their lives, unaware that a girl and her honey badger had changed humanity's place in the cosmos. Badger curled up beside her, his small body warm against her leg. She picked him up and held him close. "Thank you," she whispered into his fur, "for never giving up on me." The honey badger chirped softly, already half asleep. Outside, human drones patrolled alongside Vorian fighters. Eagle patterns mixed with wolf pack tactics. Mongoose evasion combined with honey badger aggression. A new era had begun. Ruby finally understood what her parents had tried to teach her before they died. Strength wasn't about being unbreakable. It was about breaking and coming back stronger. It was about finding help in unexpected places. It was about bonds that couldn't be measured or weighed. She looked at her reflection in the window, a girl with her companion, and saw something she hadn't seen in months. She saw a survivor who had found her voice again.